Hey everybody, this is Silent Doom, and I'm here today to discuss some first impressions of the new Sonic Lost Worlds trailer and info that was just released. Well, today/yesterday, depending on your time zone. Let's just say yesterday. So, I'd say overall, after watching the trailer, after looking at some screenshots and reading IGN's interview info, I'm pretty psyched. I'm really excited for this overall. Yeah, lots of good things from what I've seen so far. I guess I'll start with the negatives because this video will be largely positive. What didn't I like about it so far? Well, first thing is what we saw of the level. It's another Green Hill Zone basically. It's not the most interesting trope in the world. I mean, even like the Generations Green Hill Zone, in elements of that look a little more interesting. There's quite a lot of Mario inspiration from this, like the way the background mountains are, the way the trees aren't palm trees, they're more like Mario's trees. But yeah, I think they could have gone for a more interesting trope design for the first level. Like the first render that was released, that had some pretty generic looking tropes, sort of Mario tropes that you see, which is quite unusual for a Sonic game actually, because usually the tropes in a Sonic game are really quite interesting, diverse and like vivid. Like you have casinos and cybernetic cities and all that kind of stuff. The other gripe that I have with the game, or what I saw of it, is the fact that there's not as much detail in the visuals as there was in like Generations and Unleashed. It looks like they've definitely compromised the detail, and yeah, they've compromised the details in the backgrounds basically. But what they do have is a nice, crisp, vivid art style that I can get behind. Like, I don't dislike the visuals at all, mind you. After just seeing Generations though, which looks really, really nice. But on the other hand, Generations and Unleashed did have to make some compromises. Generations in particular, to try and keep the frame rate more steady. But even then, like, it only runs at 30 FPS, and it's not even a completely steady 30 FPS. I think because of the compromises made, because of the fact that there isn't so much of a background, and there isn't as much detail, I think because of that, this game has the potential to run at a really nice constant 60 FPS, which will be, in my opinion, incredible. I think that would be a really nice thing to have overall. And actually, if it runs at a crisp, high resolution at a constant 60 FPS, that alone will pretty much make me think that it looks better than Unleashed and Generations do as a whole. Barring the PC version of Generations, of course, because that is able to run at 60 FPS if you have a good computer. Yeah. So those are the major cons that I had, really. Everything else I have is positive. So yeah, let's move on to that. Oh wait, no, there was one other kind of negative thing. I'm sort of ambivalent towards the Guardian designs. They don't do that much to me, but they're not that offensive as well. Like, I don't really mind them. I think they could have looked a bit better, but I'm not fussed in the long term. I think they have the potential to be quite decent villains, but we'll just have to wait for more details and see how that pans out. Alright, so actually onto the positives now. First of all, I love the fact that the little animals from like the classic games have returned. There's a lot of classic references that I noticed. There's a lot of good classic nods to the old trilogy, which is, I think, wicked. The fact that there's the small animals, the little pigs and flickies, it's lovely to see them again, and how they're trapped in the badniks, and how the badniks look all like, quite adorable actually. It's just nice to see them all again. I think it's a really nice throwback. They even have like the chemical plant speed boosters instead of the modern dash pad, which, well, they do the same thing, so it doesn't really matter, but still. The main thing that I love, well, the main things are the level design and how it looks like Sonic will be able to move through the level design. Now this is one of the really key things about the game that really got me excited, and it's the fact that because Sonic now has all these like parkour tricks, like he has this new wall running ability where if he hits a wall he can start running on it if he's running, which actually takes me on to the point that they've revamped the control scheme so that Sonic will normally, if you don't press anything but just like tilt the stick, he will sort of walk, maybe jog-ish. Then if you hold one of the triggers, he will go into a run, and this run will allow you to easily bypass obstacles, and it's the faster way to move, although you'll have probably a little less control for some of that precise platforming. And then if you hold another trigger, you go into ball form and you're able to roll and go even faster, which I think is a really excellent way to do it. It allows for a really great sense of control that I feel that has been slightly lacking in the modern games. You know, the control has been decent in games like Generations, but low speed control in that game is quite awkward due to how Sonic accelerates. Low speed control is much better in the adventure games, but then again in the adventure games high speed control was an issue, which was less of an issue in Generations. But I think they could potentially have a really nice balance here. It said in the IGN interview actually that control was one of their main development priorities, so that will be that's a really good thing to hear in my opinion. Yeah, but as I was saying before, thanks to the new tricks and parkour stuff that Sonic has now. By the way, pardon me if I'm saying parkour wrong. P-A-R-K-O-U-R, the French. You know what I'm talking about, but anyway. But thanks to that, and the fact that the level design is like kind of Sonic Extreme and Super Mario Galaxy inspired, because yeah, those are the obvious comparisons that are being made at the moment, because it's floating in the sky and there's all these platforms. But yeah, because of the fact that it's like that, I think there's it could potentially have some really nice possibilities. And here's why. One is the fact that even from that first level that we were shown, it has some really quite interesting geometry to the level. It's not just like flat and then the occasional like bit of slope. There's also twists, there's turns, the kind of stuff that you would see in the classic games, even though this is suspended in midair. A lot of people have a problem with that, the fact that it's like a tube suspended in midair, and the fact that it's quote linear. But I personally don't have a problem with this, mainly because one, alright, the fact that it is this kind of tube means that it's clearly inspired by Mario Galaxy platforming. However, Mario Galaxy platforming is not generic. This is something that I see like sort of conflated, that just because it's sort of like Mario block platforming is generic. No, in this instance I don't think it is generic, because not many platformers do this kind of thing. In addition, like a lot of people like the fact that you know, Sonic games have always been about sort of cohesive worlds where, you know, you're able to run on different lands and stuff, but at the same time, like, they haven't been entirely successful with that. It's always felt like there's some kind of restriction to the way that you move and the places that you can go to. Even in Generations, even in the better levels in Generations, like I really enjoyed Generations, mind you, but I still do have some problems with that game. Like, even in the best levels of Generations, exploring didn't quite feel right. Like, you could do it, but because of how the game was designed, it still felt like the best way to play the game was to try and get through it as fast as possible. Feel free to disagree with me there. That's just how I felt. Like, if I go back to play Generations now, it will be to speedrun a level rather than to try and look around, because I feel like because of a combination of how Sonic moves in that game and the level design itself, like there's not much reason for me to try and explore stuff, whereas I can play Sonic 2 and, you know, I feel like I can take this path differently every time I play, you know what I mean? And I think that will be the case here. Because of the fact that it's on the tube, you have this whole 360-degree axis of movement. Like, you could try and run to the bottom of the tube, maybe there'll be a different path there. I think one of the best examples would be at the 1 minute, around the 1 minute mark of that trailer, where Sonic is homing attacking really quickly like a bunch of motorbugs. If you look carefully, you know, there's a route to the right and there's a route to the left, where there's like, you know, a slope up to a spring, and then that's the same on the other side. Normally that would be basically 3 separate routes, you know, the middle one, the one to the side, and then the one to the other side. But in this game, what I find really cool is the fact that because of the fact that there's a wall run, you can take that scenario in potentially so many different ways. Like, alright, I could keep running straight and try and roll and build up straight line speed as much as I can. I could swerve to the side, maybe try and run up the wall to go up to the spring. I could run across the wall, jump off it, then roll to the underneath side, the other side of the tube, see what's under there. You know, it looks like there's a lot of possibilities for movement, and that's what I personally really love about the classic Sonic games, is that you can tackle a scenario in multiple different ways. So even though the level design is focused forward to a point, unlike in my opinion, Unleashed, Colors and Generations, there isn't just like the one way to tackle one situation. It looks like there's potentially various ways to tackle various situations. And in fact, again, that's something that was mentioned on the IGN interview, is the fact that they're going to be focusing on a lot of different branching paths, different ways to go about going to certain places. But yeah, I mean, those are the main things that I wanted to comment on. I'm super excited. I really want to see like a full level, just one full level, and how Sonic moves and how he's able to tackle that level, because it looks like there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential room for creativity in this game, and that's what I'm really excited about. Of course, this is, you know, this early days. We still, in the grand scheme of things, know very little about the game. Actually, mind you, I haven't commented on stuff like the fact that only Sonic will be playable. I don't really mind. Lots of people do, which is, you know, fair enough. Lots of people want to see Tails and Knuckles, for example, playable again. And actually, thinking about it, this probably would have been a pretty good game to try and make them playable again. But, you know, to me, as long as there's a fundamental playstyle that's really rock solid and really fun to play, then it doesn't matter that as much that there aren't like the alternate ways to play. Because like, I'd rather take one really good playstyle than you know, 6 bad ones. Sonic 06, or even SA2. Like, only Sonic's gameplay in that game was fun for me. I guess it's just people that want to really see, you know, Tails and Knuckles good again, playable, like really fun and playable again. The Wisp power-ups are returning, which is nice. I really like them in Colors. They added a lot to the game. Yeah. What else? Sorry, I just had a blank. I'd sort of paused my recording for a sec. Excuse me if there's a weird gap. But yeah. What else? The Wii U controller support, I guess. That's pretty cool. There's like a little support mode, and you activate Wisps via the Wii U gamepad touchscreen. You know, those sort of neat little things. That's basically it, really. So yeah, in overall, I'm pretty damn excited. I can't wait to see more news. At the worst, this game is gonna be like okay, especially because they're you know, the game's being published by Nintendo, and the games generally tend to do better on Nintendo consoles. At the worst, this will be like an okay game, because Nintendo's quality assurance will basically ensure that the game won't be like glitched up the arse or stuff like that. Look at Sonic Colors. That is way more stable as a game than Unleashed, 06 and Generations, for example. So I think there's a lot to look forward to with this game. I can't wait to see more on it, more information and possibly, you know, confirm various things, remove some concerns. Yeah, that's it really. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.